Hello and welcome to Defense India podcast. And before we start this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hello and welcome to another episode of Defense India podcast, the podcast where we discuss matters related to India's internal security. And as always, joining me on the podcast is Vicky Nanjappa. Vicky, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Akash. Thank you.
So, Vicky, the situation in Manipur is turning bad to worse, and if there is anything beyond worse, then that is also happening in Manipur. The kind of situation that is there. Like I think two or 3 days back, there was this attack at a police station in Jiribam, and in the police station there is also a CRPF camp. So I think that was their motive to attack the CRPF camp. Plus, next to this police station is a camp where some of those people who have been displaced are there. Most of them are Métis. So security forces are speculating that the target were these camps. And I think after the camp, some of the people from this after this attack, some of the people from this camp went missing, around I think 8 or 10 people, out of which I think they have found 3 people who were found dead. And just rampage after rampage that is happening in Manipur, especially in the area near Jiribam. So like I think yesterday or day before yesterday, there was this attack on a convoy of trucks that was carrying essentials like medicine, food, and other things to the villages out there. 2 of them were targeted, burnt. So things are not looking good as far as the Manipur is concerned, and we have seen these kind of incidents happening in terms of there is this sporadic surge of violence all of a sudden in Manipur, then everything goes silent, then again something like this happens, and then for 2 or 3 months everything goes silent. So is this the kind of modus operandi that these so-called terror organizations, we will call them terror organizations, they are not militants, they are not fighting for any cause, that is what it feels like. So they are something operating what are the terrorists are operating like in Kashmir. So what is the outcome of this? How do you see this?
See, Akash, as we've been discussing, for quite some time, I
Yeah.
said that there are motivated players, who are pushing this. And when you say this sporadic violence, that it goes calm and then suddenly, things just go out of control, is also, could be a part of a ploy. The thing is, when there is, absolute calm and things, then, even the security mechanism tends to take it a little easy. All right. So then, then you come back and attack, that have that surprise element always, lingering on there. So, so basically there is this thing is, one is, creating that impact while carrying out such an attack. And the other thing is, what you keep everyone guessing, so that uneasy calm which is present there in Manipur, I'm sorry, in Manipur at all given time. So I would say that. Now, if you see, the thing is, I guess now if you see that, after those militants were killed there in Manipur, now 2 men from the Meitei community are found dead, and 6
Right.
of the family have gone missing.
Right.
So it's like a never-ending, scenario where something or the other will happen, and whoever is orchestrating this or engineering this knows fully well, if you start attacking one community like this, there is bound to be retaliation. And when there is retaliation, then it becomes a people versus people conflict out there.
Right.
If you see that even the Home Minister had, called both the communities, their leaders, for talks. And while, at that level, it is agreed, and, they do their best to go and translate that message across to the people. But then, as I said, if there is a motivated force there, then I don't think it is a problem that will, kind of, die down easily. Like, it's getting very similar to a Jammu Kashmir like situation when terrorism peaked at that time, and then the Indian army, they gunned down so many of them, then they brought some calm. But then what keeps happening is that is not no longer an internal problem where things are happening internally. They're pretty much sane minds in Jammu Kashmir. It is there's again a motivated element, and when I say in the case of Jammu Kashmir, it is Pakistan. Who will not let anything settle down there. So
Right.
they're trying to create a similar situation out there, Akash. But I guess sooner or later, I think the idea is to use more force on these elements now. Otherwise, I don't think anything is working out so much through talks.
Right, Vicky. And it's not just the Mete community that is out there, that is feeling the burnt of these so-called, insurgents or militants or whatever the mainstream media wants to call them. But it's the other, small communities also over there. So, Jiribam, near Jiribam, there is this, community called Wrongme. I'm not so sure if that is the pronunciation, but I think that is what uh, if somebody can correct me on that. So Wrongme is one of the community that was seriously hampered after this attack on trucks that were carrying essentials. So because Manipur is more of a hilly state, there are a lot of these remote areas which only get their essentials through these roads, these highways. They have even asked the security forces to allow a free passage to vehicles on NH37, and that is where this incident has happened. And after this incident had happened, the locals have said that they want a total boycott of these cookie organizations across within the area. So it is not just that the Metes are being targeted, it is the other smaller sub tribes or sub communities that are also being targeted. So what is the message that these cookie militants or these cookie fighters are trying to give out to the state? Because definitely it is not that this it is just the Metes that are on their target.
That's right. The thing is, as long as we were seeing, a kind of a battle between the cookies and the Metis, who have, predominantly been in Manipur. So at that time, it felt like, it was some kind of an ethnic clash that was taking place out there. But now coming and, targeting other communities, and, those communities are blaming again the cookie militants for this. It looks like there seems to be some kind of a larger agenda where they want to be in majority in Manipur, so that they have absolute control over it. It's like again I'll revisit that Kashmir case. The thing is, if you see, they've been targeting non-locals out there. All right, that one thing is there. So they want to make sure that they are in majority in the in the state. And if you look at it, they're trying to frighten each and every community. Although, all these communities, I don't think, they had any problem with the cookies, or vice versa. Now it looks like, they're diversifying their attacks in such a way that, there is absolute fear across Manipur. It's like, no community other than the cookie community is safe, is the kind of message which they're giving there.
Right.
Okay, and also it is, larger political messaging, also trying to, show that, we are the dominant community, and we need to have much more representation, etc. While that is something that it could have started off with, but now it looks like a sustained and a motivated and very very planned agenda by unseen forces to have the whole of Manipur on the boil and create a warlike situation out there.
Right, we can very interesting point that you picked up, that the cookies have chosen this kind of modus operandi in order to establish their dominance in the state. But if other organizations, if the Metes or other tribes started doing the same thing to the cookies, then they come back to playing the victim card over there, saying that, oh look, our people have been targeted. The biggest example is the gunning down of these 10 militants, 10 to 11 militants in Jiribam. So what the cookie organizations were saying, that look, they were just village volunteers, and they were brutally gunned down by the army. But when the army told them this, look, these guys were carrying these sophisticated weapons. They were carrying AK-47s. They were carrying M4 rifles. They were carrying military grade RPGs. So these guys were not your run of the mill village volunteers. They were definitely trained and were looking to create a lot of damage there in Jiribam. So then it comes back to this thing that if these communities started to retaliate, then the state will come to the boil, and then these cookies will start playing the victim card.
Yeah, I mean that is again, classic. It's very textbook what they are doing basically. Like you see it happening on an everyday basis, and it's not the first time. The thing is, earlier also these RPGs and these sophisticated weapons have been recovered out there in Manipur from these cookie militants. So many things, and it was proven fact that it has come from across their borders. It has come out here. And I always keep wondering, although I'm not a big fan of it, the thing is, I still believe that every issue should be sorted out through talks. The thing is, it has been pushed to such a phase that, to such a stage that the security forces have no option but to use force now. To use force. This gunning down of those 10 cookie militants was absolutely necessary because had they not been gunned down, and the fact that they were found with such sophisticated arms and ammunition only goes on to show that they were not out there. Trying to do some kind of charity or social service. So again, that. So then you play the victim card after that, and then you try to drum up sympathy from your community there, so that again you'll put the Indian Army in bad light. Again, a typical Jammu Kashmir kind of scenario there. Okay, that is one thing. Buranwani is gunned down, and then there is one sympathy wave that is created around him,
Right.
and then you get the locals to start hating the security forces. And once the locals and the security forces are not on the same page, then it is an extremely difficult state to operate in. And as we speak, I'm saying that they're planning to send about 2,000. They're sending 2,500 CAPF additional force. So I
Right.
think things are going to get pretty hot out there, because I don't think the security forces are going to take this nonsense lying down anymore. I think it is time to fight really hard.
Yeah, Vicky, but don't you think that, on the grassroots level, if we talk about the relationship between the Indian forces and the local police over there has not always been, hunky dory. We have seen instances of altercation between the two, and also with the locals. So, isn't that from the get go, the Indian army has been portrayed in a bad light in that state?
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And honestly speaking, however mighty your army may be, that is one thing. Operating at the border against an enemy nation is one part, but then carrying out an operation within your own country is a totally different ballgame. Because the thing is, it is the local police, which is in the know of whatever is happening, at basically a village level or a panchayat level and things like that. It is they who know. So ultimately, at the end of it, it is them who have to, provide the Indian Army or the central agencies with the intelligence, and for that, there has to be absolute, coordination there. If you see, do you remember, Akash, the thing is, how many rogue elements they pulled out of the Jammu and Kashmir police?
Right.
So, because, they were tipping off these terrorists and, tipping off these terrorists, or rather not cooperating, or they were corrupt and things like that. But once that action started happening against the local police, when, they went down very hard on them, that's when a lot of people actually fell in line and say, in the larger interest of the union territory, we need to do this. What is that? We need to cooperate and things like that. Ultimately, it is weeding out a problem and weeding out terror.
Correct.
And I think there's a lot more the state government also has to do to kind of because the police are under them there, and to rein in on the these rogue elements within the police force and ensure that there is real seamless coordination between the two. Otherwise, I'm sorry, if the coordination does not happen, then at the end of it, it is the Indian Army or the central agencies which will start getting a bad name at it. And I don't think that is the need of the hour.
Exactly, Vicky. So, of course, we hope that the need of the hour is recognized, and some more, hard actions are being taken in Manipur to control these elements, and hopefully, the talks between the two groups that are happening under the guidance of the Home Ministry, turns out to be fruitful, and peace returns to the state. Well, that's all the time we have today on the podcast. Thank you very much, Vicky, for joining me once again.
Thanks, Akash. Thank you so much.